Now, for those of you that know me, you know that I'm a Command & Conquer Rivals YouTuber. You know that I like the game, I've spent a lot of time on the game, and I think it's a really, really good mobile game. But I'm going to talk to you through the history and the evolution of Command & Conquer Rivals, from the way it started, some of the mistakes that it made, why you, if you're not a Command & Conquer Rivals player, are wrong about the game itself, and also kind of some of the shortcomings and positive things that Command & Conquer Rivals has to offer. I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible here, because if I had my way, I'd just be telling you how great the game is. But there are issues with it, and those are the issues that I want to highlight. So the clips that I'm showing you here are just from the YouTube highlights of the E3 launch of Command & Conquer Rivals, which in itself was a very flawed attempt at hyping the game. As you can see from the YouTube comments, the dislike ratios, EA set the bar for how not to announce a new title at E3, and then Blizzard trumped it with Diablo Immortals. People, especially at E3, really don't want to know or hear about mobile games. They're just not at that stage right now. They are just not at the stage of accepting mobile games as a platform where they can enjoy a competitive and serious game. Now, EA didn't really take this into account when they did their E3 launch, and I think they would have been much better off. As we all know now, they are remastering Command & Conquer games. They're remastering some of the old Command & Conquer original RTS titles from the 90s. I believe they're doing like the original Command & Conquer, and they're doing a Red Alert. If EA had done their E3 conference on a Command & Conquer announcement and said, we are remastering these games on PC, by the way, everyone. Your old favorites coming back. We're going to bring them to the new age, and I hope you all really enjoy them. Oh, and by the way, we have a mobile game coming out. A mobile game that is free to play, and I want to give you a little bit of a highlight of what it looks like, because we're pretty close to releasing this one. The Command & Conquer remasters will be in the future, but the Rivals is going to be coming out this year, and I really want you guys just to have a quick look at it. You can play it in your spare time while you wait for the remasters to come through. That probably would have been a much better strategy for EA in general when approaching Command & Conquer Rivals at E3. But unfortunately, that's not what they did. They put on a showcase of Rivals. They showed a trailer, which wasn't really much like the gameplay at all. And then they had like a influencer-focused shoutcast esports segment, which you could tell the commentator didn't know much about Command & Conquer Rivals, and it showed, apart from the EA... the head EA guy leading it. He obviously was very knowledgeable, but the commentator didn't really know much about Rivals. The StarCraft 2 player in Control didn't know much about Rivals, although probably picked it up pretty quickly. And then they brought a guy called Nick at Night on, who is a really lovely guy, but he doesn't know much about Rivals either. I actually recently met Nick at Night at the Rivals launch party, and you could see that he was not quite there in terms of knowing the high-level strategy that Rivals has to offer. And why would he? He's a Clash Royale YouTuber. There is almost no reason for him to want to learn Rivals apart from just coming to this event. So it showed you a really low-level game of Command & Conquer Rivals. They would have been much better off just taking some of the devs that had worked on the game and were really good and pitting them against each other to show you what the heights of Command & Conquer Rivals was achievable. However, that's not what happened, and now we're into the release phase of the game, and I want to talk about some of the shortcomings that we're kind of facing in Command & Conquer Rivals right now. So what I want to talk about is the system that Command & Conquer Rivals employs in terms of the way that you level up and rank up. You start off in Bronze League, Iron League, but let's say Bronze League for both GDI and NOD, and your aim is to climb the ladder through winning battles, and those battles reward you with medals. Now, there are several mechanisms to help your climb. There are win streak bonuses once you win 3 or more in a row, and there are also things called challenge battles, which if you face someone who's much higher rank than you, or if certain conditions are met, you face someone with higher level units than you actually end up in a challenge battle, which if you win, you get double medals. Now that sounds great. That's a fair play mechanic installed by EA to say, okay, we know people want to spend money on this game, but we want to make sure that the free-to-play players don't feel too bad by installing this fair play mechanic, which is a really good thing by EA in terms of an ethical approach to trying to make their monetization model a little bit more acceptable for people who are free to play. Now, the problems that delivers, however, is that people climbed very quickly in this game. A lot of people who are free to play within the first month made it to Tiberium League. And that is both a blessing and a curse in disguise. The blessing part is that a free-to-play player can make it to the absolute top-level league in Command & Conquer Rivals within a month, having spent absolutely no money on the game. You go to Clash Royale, and tell me that that's possible. If you go to Clash Royale and get to the absolute top league within a month as a free-to-play player, I will shake your hand, because it just strictly isn't that possible. In terms of being able to achieve the same level of climb that you can get from Command & Conquer Rivals. So that's a testament to the level of skill that it takes this game. Not just about spending money, there's a lot of skill involved, because there are free-to-play players within the first month making it to the top level league. The problems that you're facing then when you get to the top level league is that the skill differential between players in Tiberium League and players in, let's say, Platinum League is much, much smaller. In Platinum League, there is such a wide range of skill level, from people who have spent money in the game and have very high level units but are just absolute garbage, to people who have got low level units but are really good at the game and climbing quickly because of it. When you get to Tiberium League, you have not only the mix of players who are spending a lot, but usually it's the players that are spending a lot and actually have a half-decent idea about how to play the game. So that skill gap is much, much closer, meaning that the free-to-play players that have made it to Tiberium League end up queuing up onto the ladder versus people with not only equal skill level to them, but also much higher level units, which is where the unit level advantage starts to come into play. And this is what makes those Tiberium League players really sad, especially the free-to-play ones specifically, because unfortunately, they have nothing to queue up for. When they go onto ladder versus another Tiberium League player, they really have nothing left to play for. When they were climbing the ladder, it was great. They were beating players with high-level units, they were claiming rewards all the time. But if they get to Tiberium League really quickly, they are left with a long period of time where all they do is queue up onto ladder to do their bounties, potentially lose a lot of their games, and that sudden change from winning a lot to losing more often than not is actually really jarring, and it makes it really difficult for the player to accept. So I want to sort of reflect on that. There are things that Command & Conquer Rivals are doing to try and mitigate this. For instance, they are starting to introduce seasons where the player will be reset down to a lower rank and will have to climb over again. There will be rewards, albeit diminished rewards, available for the player. And that gives them a reason to climb. They'll also be matching with people who have capped unit levels, which means that their unit levels won't be at such a disadvantage. And on the reset, they might find it a bit more difficult to climb than they previously did, because a lot of those Tiberium League players, especially those who are slightly less active, are going to be stuck down in those lower league levels for a little while longer. So there are things being done to implement changes here, but unfortunately, what you will find is that once they get back to Tiberium League, and if people do climb back rapidly to Tiberium League, they're going to be faced with the same issues that they had previously. A lot of people are asking specifically for more and more to do once they get to Tiberium League. They're asking for more ways to play the game. There are issues with that in its own right. You don't want to split the player queue. You also want to make sure that there is a reason to want to spend money on the game. There is no way that the EA are going to introduce a friendly rules, everybody has level 5 units only ladder, because then there'll be people playing Rivals who have spent money on the game saying, well, wait a second, what's the point of me having unit levels now? In fact, what's the point of me spending money on this game at all if I can literally just play a ladder where people have only got friendly unit levels? So obviously, no game is going to cater entirely to the free-to-play player, but there are things being done to try and make it more free-to-play friendly for people. There is things like the cloning vats coming out to help you get more of the same card. I think there are going to be some lower price deals coming through, lots of new units being released, which makes it more exciting. And obviously, there is always that element of tournaments being organised at the highest level as well. But that is the problem. I just wanted to briefly go over the problem that Command & Conquer Rivals Tiberium League players are having. It's a very small subset of the population, but this will happen at every league. Once you start matching people of equal level to you or equal skill to you, you're going to start to run into a roadblock with unit levels, and that is where some people start to find issue. At least in the lower leagues, you always have something to strive for. You always have those rewards that you can go on to claim. But when you get to Tiberium League, that is the problem that a lot of people have. I do want to say, though, it is a testament to Command & Conquer Rivals with the fact that you can actually get to the highest level league within a month as a free-to-play player, which is just not possible on many other games of the similar genre. Alright guys, that was pretty much covering my thoughts on the issues that Command & Conquer Rivals has at the very highest level. I hope you got a bit of an insight into Command & Conquer Rivals. It is a really good game, and if you don't play it, I really would go and recommend giving it a go, because there is lots you can do to outplay your opponent. There is lots of actual real-time strategy stuff involved, so I hope you do go and try it out. I will see you soon.